So let's start discussion with respect to the problem of overfitting. In the last session, we had a discussion about the cost function of logistic regression. We have also seen how gradient descent can be used to minimize the cost function in case of logistic regression. Also, we have focused upon how logistic regression can be used for multi-class classification. And now today we'll be focusing upon one important point, and that is the overfitting. So, in fact, we have touched upon this point earlier in brief in unit number 1. So let's see once again what is the problem of overfitting. So let us once again assume our running example of housing price, right? So let us assume that we are dealing with linear regression, okay? And the problem under consideration is our housing price problem. So let us assume that we are having the feature size of the house and we are predicting the price of the house. And let us assume that we are having such kinds of data points in our training data set. Okay, now if we pick the simple hypothesis, a linear regression simple hypothesis, theta 0 plus theta 1 x, then we may fit a line with respect to this training data set. Okay, so this is our hypothesis and we are fitting a line with respect to our training data set. But if we look at this, we may say that this line fitting or fitting of this hypothesis is not that correct. It is not that correct. So we may say that it is underfitting. So what we can do is we can go for some other hypothesis. So once again we are having the same training data set. So same points we have, but now we are going to change our hypothesis. So if we change our hypothesis, let us assume that we are making use of a quadratic function now as a hypothesis, theta 0 plus theta 1 x plus theta 2 x square. So if we are having such kind of a quadratic function as the hypothesis, right, and if we look at how actually the data points are spread in this space, then we may find that this particular hypothesis is actually fitting our data more accurately, right? Because we are having the trend, like as the size of the house increases, we are having, after some point we are having this curve that is flattened out, or there is a small increase in the price, okay, according to this particular training data set. So if we go for such kind of a quadratic function, we may say that this is a better fit than the earlier linear fit or linear model, okay. So we say that this is a right fitting. Okay, now let us proceed with one more example of a hypothesis. So once again we are having the same training data set, same data samples, but now we are having the hypothesis that is the fourth order polynomial, right? Theta 0 plus theta 1 x, theta 2 x square plus theta 3 x cube plus theta 4 x raised to 4. So this is a fourth order polynomial. So if we try to fit this fourth order polynomial, then we may get something like this, right? And in fact, if we look at these data points, all the data points are being correctly, or those are in fact aligned with this hypothesis. Every point is exactly at this hypothesis. It is on the hypothesis, and that is why we may find that if I go with such kind of a hypothesis, my cost will be minimum, okay, or the error is minimum with respect to our training data set. But whether to go with such kind of a hypothesis, that is actually giving us a hypothesis such that it fits with each and every training sample, then we may not advise to go with such kind of a hypothesis, and such kind of a situation is known as overfitting. So usually overfitting is a phenomenon that when a machine learning model is constrained to training set and it is not able to perform well on unseen data. So what we mean by that? If we go with such kind of a hypothesis, higher order polynomial for this particular case, then it may work very well for the training data set. For training data set, it may produce the error that is almost zero. But it may happen that if I am selecting such kind of a hypothesis, it may not generalize well. What does this mean? It may not generalize well. This means that if afterwards, if I present some unknown data samples to my model, then it may happen that these samples may not be predicted correctly, right? And that is a drawback of having the overfitting of the hypothesis. So this is usually called as the problem of overfitting. I'll repeat the definition of overfitting once again. Overfitting is a phenomenon that when ML model is constrained to training set and not able to perform well on unseen data, then we say that it is overfitting, right? Or we may identify when such kind of a problem may arise. So overfitting, typically we face this problem typically if we are having too many features. If we are having many features, then it may happen that we may come across the overfitting. The learned hypothesis, like in this case, the learned hypothesis may fit the training set very well. That means, as I stated, what is the error or the cost function for the hypothesis or for the linear regression? We are having the cost function as g of theta equal to 1 divided by 2m summation over I equal to 1 to m h theta xi minus yi square. So this is our cost function associated with linear regression. So in case of overfitting, for training set, we may have our cost function near to 0, almost 0, but it fails to generalize for the new examples. And this is the problem of overfitting. And usually this problem is faced if we are having many features. Okay. Now, what is important? One more point I would like to mention here. Sometimes whenever our model is underfitting, we say that it is having high bias. It is having high bias. Okay. When our model is underfitting, we say that it is having high bias. Whereas if our model is overfitting, we say that it is having high variance. Right? Now, let me tell you what we mean by variance. Variance means the data set that we have in the training samples or whatever training data set we have, right? We are able to fit a model very appropriately. But if we use the same model with some other data set, then we may unexpectedly find the incorrect results. And if we are having such kind of a difference in the output or the accuracy of the model, then we say that it is high variance. I'll repeat once again so that you can understand this statement very well. What we mean by variance? If we train our model using the training data, and if we obtain very low error, then we say that the model is fitting well. But if we keep the same model and if we only change the data, then we may experience very high error. And if this is the case, then we say that it is having high variance. In case of overfitting, we experience high variance, meaning whatever is our training data, our model behaves very well with minimum error. But if the same model is being used for other data set, then we may get the high error, and that is what we say that the model is not consistent, not generalized for any kind of data samples, and this phenomenon is known as high variance. Okay, so if our model is underfitting the data, then we are saying that it is having high bias, whereas if our model is overfitting, we say that it is high variance. Please remember these terminologies because these are very important. Okay, what is bias? We know what is bias. Bias is the assumption made by a model to make a function easier to learn. I'll repeat. Bias is the assumption made by a model to make the function easier to learn. For example, if we are having this linear fit here, right, then we are having the high bias. And what that bias is, we are having the perception that as the size of the house goes on increasing, obviously the price should increase. So that is our assumption. And as we are having that assumption in mind with respect to this particular data set, we try to fit a linear model. Okay, and if we look at the actual data with respect to this linear model, then this linear model is not fitting the data well, because we had that assumption, we had the high bias while building this model, and due to this high bias, we are not able to fit the model appropriately with respect to data, because our assumption was different and actually the data spread is different, and that is why we face this kind of underfitting situation, right? And in case of overfitting, what happens is we try to fit the model such that the training error is very low, right? But if we choose such kind of a hypothesis, we may face the problem of high variance, meaning we may face the problem of overfitting. That means the hypothesis works well for the training data set, producing the error that is approximately 0. But whenever we present another data set with the trained model, we may experience high error. and that is the problem of overfitting. Is there any doubt so far? Is there any doubt?
No,
Yes.
ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Ma'am, can you repeat once all these terms?
Okay, okay. Please listen carefully. These terms are really very important. Okay, as far as any of the machine learning algorithms are considered. Right now, I'm explaining these terms with respect to linear regression, and also we are going to look at these terms with respect to the logistic regression also. Okay, because these two are the algorithms those we have studied so far. But these phenomenon, these terms are applicable for all machine learning algorithms. Okay. So once again, I'll repeat. Let us see here. We are having some data set, training data set. Okay. And all those data samples are being shown over here. We are having here one feature, that is size, and we are predicting the price. So size is our independent variable and price is our dependent variable. And simply we are making use of a linear hypothesis to fit the data. Okay. So we have selected the hypothesis h theta x equal to theta 0 plus theta 1 x. So we are having this line, okay, as our hypothesis. But if we look at this particular line and the actual data points, right, then we may find that this line may not be the best fit. This line may not be the best fit. It is having high bias. We say that it is underfitting, having high bias. What we mean by that? Just I mentioned what is bias. Anybody who can give me the definition of bias? Just I mentioned what we mean by bias. Bias is the assumption that is made by a model to make the function easier to learn, right? So here what is our bias or what is our assumption? We are assuming that as the size goes on increasing, price should also increase, and that is why we are assuming some kind of a linear relationship in between the independent and dependent variable, and hence we have tried to fit the line, okay, linear function. But actually if we look at the data, right, the data is something different. Even though we had that assumption, our data is something different, and that is why it is not fitting the data. So this situation with high bias is known as underfitting, right? So we go for another function. So another hypothesis we may look at is a quadratic function, theta 0 plus theta 1 x plus theta 2 x square. And if now we look at this hypothesis with this training data set, we may find that this is the right fit. This is the right fit, meaning we are having some error, no doubt, right? We are having some error, but the error is comparatively acceptable, marginal. And if we further go for another hypothesis, which is here in this situation a high ordered polynomial, fourth order polynomial, then it is possible that every sample is being covered by this hypothesis. We are having a very complex function, right? And it is possible that we are coming up with the error that is almost zero, right? So obviously we may think that this hypothesis is really better because we are having error zero. But please remember, even though it is producing the error as zero, this error is meant for this particular training set, right? And if I get the error approximately zero for the training set, then I may have the problem of overfitting. My function is fitting very well with the training data set, but not necessarily it is possible for me to generalize the hypothesis. What we mean by generalization of the hypothesis? What we want actually? We want that for unknown sample, after building the model, for unknown sample also, my model should work well. But in case of overfitting, there is a possibility that for training data set, the model works well. But if I change the data set, if I change the data samples, then it may produce comparatively high error. And if this is the case, then we say that the model is overfitting. Right? And also this happens when we are having high variance. And just I mentioned what we mean by variance. If we train the model with our training data set, and if for training data set we are having very low error, approximately 0. But if we change our data set and if we use the same model and if we experience a very high error, then this is known as a variance, right? So overfitting is prone to high variance, or due to high variance actually we are facing this problem of overfitting. Right? And usually the overfitting problem is faced if we are having many features. Many features, those are describing a data sample, right? And comparatively, we are having very few examples in our training data set. I'll repeat, when we face this overfitting problem, the overfitting problem typically is faced if we are having many features describing a sample and if we are having very few samples in our training data set. So few samples in training data set, but every sample is having many features, too many features. Then there is a possibility that we may face this problem of overfitting. Right? Got it? Any doubt? Any doubt? Yes.
No, ma'am.
May I proceed now?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the linear regression problem that we talked about. Okay. Now the same concepts can be applicable for logistic regression also, or any other algorithm. So as we know logistic regression, I am just going to explain the same concept with respect to logistic regression problem. So here we are having two features x1 and x2, and we are having the samples spread over this space. This is a training data set. So we are having the samples, those belong to two different classes, right? Now, if we use a hypothesis h theta x of the form g of theta 0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2. So this is comparatively a very simple hypothesis. Please note that we are having the hypothesis g of. So we are using the sigmoid function g of something. So we are using, as this is logistic regression, we are using a sigmoid function as the hypothesis. So hypothesis here is g of theta 0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2. So if we make use of such kind of a hypothesis, we may come up with the hypothesis like this. And if we look at this hypothesis, this is really very simple hypothesis, okay? And if we look at this hypothesis, we may find that this is a problem of underfitting. This is a problem of underfitting. Why? Because few of the samples are not being classified correctly here, right? So we are having some error, significant error here. Okay, so we say that this is underfitting, having the high bias. Okay, now let us look at the same data set. Okay, but now the hypothesis is somewhat different. So once again we are making use of a quadratic hypothesis here. So h theta x equal to g of theta 0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2 Plus we are having few quadratic terms, theta 3 x1 square, theta 4 x2 square plus theta 5 x1 x2. So this is g of. So once again this is a sigmoid function. Okay, but now here we are having some quadratic terms as well. So if we make use of such kind of a hypothesis, then for this particular training data set, we may come up with a function, a hypothesis that looks like this. So if we compare the first hypothesis and the second hypothesis, then we may find that this hypothesis that we have come up with right now is better than the earlier fit. Okay, so the first one is the example of underfitting. We may say that this is a right fit because approximately almost all the samples are being correctly classified here, and if we look at the pattern of the spread of the samples, then we may think that this will appropriately work for any unseen data as well, and that is why we may say that this is a right fit. But if we further go with a hypothesis like this, so it is having the very high order hypothesis. We are having lots of terms here, theta 0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x1 square plus theta 3 x1 square x2 and so on. So if we are having such kind of a complex hypothesis, then this hypothesis may try to fit each and every sample. See here the curves. See here the hypothesis. So this hypothesis is trying to classify each and every example in training data set accurately. And this is how this hypothesis is having the form such that every sample gets classified correctly in my training data set. So this kind of a hypothesis performs well, very well with the training data set. But if we are having such kind of a nature of the hypothesis, it may happen that if I present some unseen data samples to this model, then obviously this may not work. Right? Why? What is the problem? See here, if we look at the data samples in this training data set, I may think that this sample and this sample, right, these two samples are actually maybe the noisy samples. So maybe in my training data set, whenever these samples are being labeled, these samples are labeled incorrectly. And that is why we may say that these two may be the noisy samples. And if we are having such kinds of noisy samples, and if we go with such kind of a complex hypothesis, what will happen is, even though there is some noise in the data set, our model tries to fit such that these noisy samples are also being treated correctly, and we come up with such kind of a complex hypothesis. But as these are the noisy samples, these should not be covered, right? These should not be covered actually. And that is why we may, third reason why we may come up with such kind of overfitting. We may have some noise also, and my model tries to learn the noisy samples also. My model tries to learn the noisy samples also. Those are present in my training data set. And that is why my model is being trained incorrectly. My model is being trained incorrectly. And that is why it may not generalize well for the unknown data samples. Right? So this is the problem of underfitting, overfitting, and this middle figure is actually the right fit. Okay, so I hope now with respect to logistic regression also you might have understood this problem of overfitting. This problem of overfitting is not desirable, because if we are having the overfitting, my model will not work well for the unknown samples. in future. And that is why we need to find out the solution for this overfitting. Yes, any doubts so far? Have you understood the concept of overfitting? Really very important concept. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed now? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now, address this overfitting problem. Okay? So, this is what we have seen, that we are having some data samples in our training data set, and if we try to use some complex function that actually tries to predict each and every sample in my training data set correctly to produce the low error for training data set, then we may say that this is the overfitting problem. Okay? Now, what is the reason actually why we are having the overfitting? The first reason that I stated is we are having many features. Those are describing a sample, right? Usually, you may have a point or you may have a question in mind. How actually we should come up with a good hypothesis, right? So whether it should be a linear, whether it should be a quadratic, whether it should be a high order polynomial, what should be the hypothesis actually? Usually what happens is, I have stated this earlier also, but once again I am just quoting this. Usually what happens is, whatever is our training data set, we usually try to plot the training data set and the hypothesis, and or try to plot the training data set, and we try to visualize how the training samples are being sprayed in this space, right? And if we understand the pattern, how the training samples are being sprayed in this space, then we may get some idea what kind of hypothesis is best suited, right? Let me once again go back so that you can understand it better. So if I try to plot my training samples in this space, then I may have the rough idea what kind of hypothesis may be suitable. Correct? Say for example, if such kind of a plot is there, then obviously I may think that the linear function may not work, but if I go with a function like this, which is a quadratic function, then it may work by just visualizing the data, and then I may have some kind of idea about the hypothesis that I should go with. Okay, but this is a simple trick that we may follow if we want to find out the best possible hypothesis that we may go with. But the constraint here is, if I am having very few number of features, then only it is possible for me to plot those points and visualize the pattern of the points in my data set. Do you agree with me? Yes? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I am having very few features, right, then it is possible for me to visualize the data. If it is two-dimensional, three-dimensional, but if I am having many features, then my space becomes multi-dimensional, n-dimensional. If I am having n features, my space becomes n-dimensional, right? And it may become very difficult to visualize a point in n dimensions. Are you getting me? And if our problem becomes complex with many number of features, then whatever I stated, the trick how to come up with the good hypothesis, that may not work, because it is not possible for me to visualize the data and to come up with a hypothesis that might be best suit, okay, that might be best fit for my training data set. So let us assume now that we are having our housing price problem, but instead of a single feature, we are having many features. Say x1 is size of house, x2 is number of bedrooms, x3 is number of floors, x4 is age of house, x5 may be average income in the neighborhood, x6 is size of the kitchen, and so on. So let us assume that one house is described with 100 features, right? x1 to x100, 100 features. Then if I am having so many features, then it is really not possible for me to plot the hypothesis or plot the points in space and just to visualize what kind of hypothesis might be suitable for me, or what kind of degree of the polynomial to be used, right, to fit the hypothesis. That may not be possible. So what is the solution? How to come up with the hypothesis that is not overfitting my data, right? Then the solution for overfitting, we are having two solutions actually for overfitting. And what are those two solutions? We may have the first solution, that is reduce the number of features. So what we mean by that? See, if we are having 100 features, we may think that not necessarily all those 100 features are really contributing. All those 100 features are not really very important. And I may think that why not to reduce the number of features, and why not to pick only the features those are most significant. So this is the first way. What we can do is to address overfitting. What we can do is we can reduce the number of features. So how we are going to reduce the number of features? We may manually select the features. So out of 100, whichever features those we feel like most important and those are contributing in defining the price of the house, right? Then we may pick manually only those features out of 100, and we try to simplify our problem, okay? Instead of manually picking up the features, we are having several algorithms as well, and these algorithms are known as feature selection algorithms. So in fact, in the next unit, we are going to focus upon such kinds of algorithms, feature selection algorithms, right? So by making use of these feature selection algorithms, it is possible for us to select the important features, the most dominant features, right? And then we make use of only those features, and it is possible to provide the solution for overfitting. Because one of the reasons for overfitting is maximum number of features, more number of features. So the first solution says that reduce the number of features so that you can address this problem of overfitting. So there are two ways to reduce the number of features. First is manual selection of features, and second is making use of some feature selection algorithms so that only the dominant features can be selected automatically, right? Now, these are actually the good ways to address this overfitting, but we may have one disadvantage of reducing the number of features. And what might be the disadvantage? See, if I'm having 100 features, and if I'm reducing, if I'm eliminating few of the features out of those 100, definitely I'm losing some information,
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? Na? If I'm just eliminating few of the features, those are describing my sample, then I'm ignoring that data. So it may result in loss of information, right? And that is one of the disadvantages of having this mechanism, reduction in number of features. Though we may use that, but there is one disadvantage that we may lose some important information. Okay, so what next we can do? Is there any other solution? Obviously, yes. And that solution is known as regularization. That solution is known as regularization. So what we mean by regularization? In regularization, we do not eliminate any of the features. Instead, keep all the features as it is. Okay? Regularization is a technique that is used to reduce the errors by fitting the function appropriately on the given training set and avoid overfitting. So to avoid overfitting, one of the solutions is by making use of the technique known as regularization, which helps us to reduce the error by fitting the function appropriately. Okay, so in this particular method, we are not at all going to eliminate any of the features, but instead we are going to keep all the features. We are going to keep all the features, but what we are going to do is we are going to reduce the magnitude or the values of the parameters theta j. What are those parameters theta j? Theta j parameters are actually defining our hypothesis h theta x, right? Whenever we come up with the hypothesis h theta x, actually we are trying to find this parameter vector theta. Correct? Am I right? Yes. Whenever we
Yes, ma'am.
try to find the hypothesis h theta, what we actually do? We actually try to come up with the optimal parameter vector theta that is defining our hypothesis, right? So in this regularization, what we are going to do next is we are going to keep all the features, but we try to reduce the magnitude or the values of the parameters theta j. And if we go with such kind of a mechanism, regularization, it works well when we are having lots of features, right? If we are having lots of features, this mechanism works well without eliminating any of the features, right? And whatever is this magnitude of theta or value of theta, right? That value we are going to reduce a bit, right? And depending on that value of theta, right, it finds the contribution of every feature in our hypothesis. And this is how we can address the problem of overfitting. Let me give you one example for this. See, this is the hypothesis that we stated. This is a quadratic function, and we stated that this hypothesis is a good fit for our training set. And this hypothesis is the quadratic function. Against this hypothesis that we have tried to fit, it is a high order polynomial. It is a polynomial with order 4. Okay, so if we come up with such kind of a hypothesis to fit the data, then we say that this is a overfitting situation and this is a best fit. So as my data is spread approximately like quadratic function fits, This is a correct fit or good fit, and this is overfit. Okay, now see what we are trying to explain. What I said, instead of eliminating any of the features, in this polynomial fit, we are having these features: x, x square, right? X cube, x to the power 4. These are the features. So what we are saying is, to overcome this overfitting, instead of reducing the number of features, what we are going to do is, we are going to modify the values of thetas. We are going to modify the values of thetas. We are going to change the values of thetas. We are going to reduce the values of thetas, right? Such that even though all the features are there, contribution of every feature can be regulated. Contribution of every feature can be regulated, right? So in this particular situation, we may say that we may come up with theta 3 and theta 4 very small. We may come up with theta 3 value or theta 4 value in this particular situation very small. So if we have this theta 3, theta 4 values, those are very small. We are reducing the parameter value. So if they are very small, then obviously the effect of this feature x cube, this feature x to the power 4 is negligible. The contribution of x3 and x4 will be negligible. Why? Because I am reducing these values of theta 3 and theta 4. So if very small value of theta 3 or theta 4 is there, then obviously the contribution of the respective feature would be small. But still, we are keeping all the features. Contribution would be small, and we may come up with a function like this. So hypothesis remains the same. The parameter values, those are selected, are now different. We are reducing those theta values, and still we may come up with such kind of a function that might be a good fit. Right? So this is our cost function. No doubt, in our original case, to fit the hypothesis, this is our cost function, and we try to minimize our cost function. Right? We try to minimize our cost function. Okay. Now, in this situation, our hypothesis is like this, and what we try to do is, we try to keep all the features. Only thing is, we will have a small modification in our cost function, so that we can accommodate such kind of regularization with respect to the features. Instead of eliminating the features, we just want to control those features, or we just want to control the contribution of those features. And how to do that? We may modify a bit, or we may modify a little our cost function, original cost function, by adding the regularization term into that. Okay, so let me give you the regularization cost function, or the cost function with regularization, and then we'll conclude the session. Okay, so we are having now the small values of parameters theta 1, theta 2 up to theta m in regularization. So if we are having small values of parameters, obviously it helps us to come up with a simpler hypothesis instead of a complex one, right? And if we follow such kind of approach, it is possible to address the overfitting problem. Okay, so let us assume once again that we are having 100 features. Okay, 100 features plus x0. So overall 101 features. And we are having these parameters theta1, theta2 up to theta 100. Then we are going to introduce our cost function like this. So earlier we had a cost function like 1 divided by 2m summation over I equal to 1 to m h theta xi minus yi square. In this cost function, we are going to add this term lambda into summation over j equal to 1 to n theta j square. And this term lambda summation over j equal to 1 to n theta j square, this term is known as regularization term. This term is known as regularization term. And if we add this regularization term into our cost function, and then if we try to minimize our cost function, it is possible for us to avoid this problem of overfitting. We are not going into the mathematical proof how it happens. But please remember, this is really very important practically whenever we try to fit any model, right? Many times it happens that we get the overfitting, or the model is overfitting the training data set. Many times it happens. But to overcome this, we should make use of this regularization. Okay, and if we add this term in our cost function, and then if we try to minimize our cost function, it is possible for us to address the problem of overfitting. Okay, this term lambda is known as regularization parameter. So this lambda is known as the regularization parameter, and this entire term lambda summation over j equal to 1 to n theta j square is known as the regularization term, and this is being introduced to reduce the values of thetas so that we can control the contribution of various different features. Those are describing our sample. I know these are a bit complex terms to understand, but even though the terms are complex to understand, the concept is somewhat complex to understand. This is really very important. So we are not going into the mathematical proofs or details, but only remember that if we want to address overfitting, one of the solutions is to introduce this term of regularization. Getting me? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I hope that you have at least understood a little. I'm not saying that you should understand 100%, because these are the things those we cannot visualize actually unless we practice it. It is not possible for us to find out how this regularization is actually working. So if we go with practical implementation, then obviously it would be helpful for us to understand those concepts better, right? But still, as in the theoretical perspective, I'm trying to explain you. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So obviously we need to select this value of regularization parameter lambda carefully. As the lambda value goes on increasing, right? As the value of lambda goes on increasing, it reduces the values of the coefficients, right? And obviously, if the values of the coefficients are reducing, then obviously we are reducing the variance. Okay, and this is how it helps to deal with the overfitting. Okay, but we should keep in mind that this lambda value should not be very high. This lambda value should not be very small. So carefully we should come up with this value of lambda. If it becomes very large, then once again we may face the problem of underfitting. So it should not happen. And that is why we need to think of this regularization parameter carefully. There are several ways to select this lambda parameter. Right now we are not going to focus upon that, but only thing that you should keep in mind that this regularization term will help us to address overfitting, and lambda value, that is the regularization parameter, needs to be selected very carefully. Okay, that is the essence that you should remember. Okay, so in the next session we are going to discuss the new algorithm under machine learning, and that algorithm really is very useful for classification problems, and the decision trees algorithm we are going to look at in the next session. Okay, so let's conclude today. If you have any doubts, please report me your doubts. Okay, thank you.